We come together with open hands, open hearts, and open minds to worship God, who calls us to love one another.
These days, sparrows represent joy and community and teamwork and busy, busy, busy little birds chippering away. But that hasn't always been the case. In the Middle Ages in Europe, sparrows represented the poor people. They were the peasants and the lower classes. In Celtic tradition, though, they were the keepers of ancestral knowledge. In Indonesia, they believed that if a sparrow flies into the house, someone's going to die. Or maybe just an ending of a relationship or something. There's a tradition that some sailors used to get a sparrow tattoo in the hope that the birds would catch and carry their souls should they die at sea. Others will tell you that sailors had sparrow tattoos to represent freedom, joy, and a lack of inhibition. In Greek mythology, they hung out with Aphrodite, the goddess of love, and they symbolised true love and spiritual connection.
God of the big and the small. How wonderful it is to know that you, who are God of the eagle and the phoenix, are also God of the common sparrow that nests under the eaves, the tiny swallow that sweeps around the house. How wonderful it is to know that you, who are God of the powerful and the mighty, are also the God that knows and loves us. We give thanks that we can lift up our voices and say, there are hundreds and thousands and millions of sparrows, but God knows everyone, and God knows me.
In the Bible, sparrows are coupled with swallows. For example, in Psalm 84, verse 3, even the sparrow finds a home, and the swallow a nest for herself, where she may make a nest for her young, at your altars, O Lord of hosts. Jesus mentions sparrows on their own, perhaps to draw attention to the humblest, smallest, and most common of God's creatures, meaning perhaps those who saw themselves or were seen by society as unimportant and unremarkable. The Venerable Bede, an 8th century monk and English historian, tells a story about a sparrow, although it could just as easily be about a swallow, because both nest in human dwellings and, given the chance, fly in and out. Here is a version of that story. King Edwin is in council with his elders, discussing the possibility of changing the people's faith, following his own personal journey. The elders are receptive to change. One of them gives an analogy. The king sits in company in the great hall on a stormy winter evening, feasting, discussing business, and telling stories around a good fire, while snow falls outside and gales howl. A sparrow comes in through a hole in the woodwork and flies across the hall and out of the window and into the bleak sky. For the few seconds that the sparrow is inside, it is sheltered from the violent weather, but soon enough vanishes back into the darkness. So it is with the life of humans, says the elder. Our lives here on earth are like the flight of the sparrow through the hall. What comes before and what lies beyond is unknown and full of mystery and dread. But faith offers hope and insight into this unknown.
Even the sparrow has found a home, and the swallow a nest for herself, where she may have her young, a place near your altar, my God.
We have a long-standing belief that somehow God is especially present with us when we are in our church buildings. For some people, that's meant a great deal of suffering during lockdown when we've not been allowed in our buildings. For others, it's meant that we've discovered a bit of liberty, and we've discovered that God is equally there when we go for a walk or when we sit quietly in our dining room. But for some, it has meant a great deal of suffering. God is with us wherever we are, but there is this idea that somehow God is more there inside a church. And this isn't a new idea. The Jews with their temple in Jerusalem certainly felt it, and Psalm 84 is expressing a passionate love for the sanctuary, the dwelling place of God. The psalmist delights in God's dwelling place because they delight in the God that dwells there. The sparrow has found her nest with you, O Lord of hosts, my King, my God. The psalmist has a little bit of righteous jealousy that the sparrow gets to live so close to God. There's a feeling of rest in the idea of a bird nesting so near to an altar, which actually wouldn't have been that restful a place. There'd have been all these religious types bustling about and doing stuff all the time. But the idea sounds peaceful, sleeping close to God's altar. The psalmist observes the sparrow and makes some poetic connections. They're jealous of the sparrow's nearness to God. They're envious of how safe the sparrow is. They long for a place of rest where they can build their nest and feel quite as peaceful as a sparrow. The sparrow is among the smallest and the most common of birds. Jesus said that in his day you could buy 2 sparrows for a penny, cheaper than goldfish at a fun fair, seemingly unimportant and expendable. But this apparently insignificant bird has found the most enviable places to live, next to the very altar where God dwells. Jesus told his disciple that God cares for sparrows. In fact, he knows when one falls to the ground. And if God cares for sparrows, how much more will God care for you and for me? If we desire God, if we want to experience God, then we need to think more like a sparrow. We need to be and identify with the sparrow. We need to see ourselves as small, as needy, as needing protection. But despite all that, as being immeasurably, hugely loved by our God. As we've just seen, if God cares for sparrows, God will care for you as well. We need God for peace, for safety, but we don't need necessarily to have a building to find that in, because God is wherever we are. Perhaps we're more swallows than sparrows. They're always teamed together in the Bible. Swallows are busy birds. They are always darting about. And perhaps the psalmist is making a parallel that we too can often find ourselves flitting here and there and everywhere, being busy people. And that maybe we need to find some time to stop and rest. So find some time this week to be a sparrow, not a swallow, to stop, to rest, and to be near God, wherever you are, to feel how close God is to you.
Loving God. Your first call was to fishermen, simple people, simple as sparrows. When we forget that your call is for us, simple as we are, simple as sparrows, may we hear the simple words, "Come, follow me," again. May we hear the simple challenge to be your disciples. May we hear the simple message of the good news. May we hear the simple invitation to come to you. May we hear the simple words, "Come and follow me," and may we simply come, just as we are, simple as we are, simple as sparrows. Give us the power to bring about simple changes, simple as we are, simple as sparrows. Give us the vision of a world transformed simply. Amen. We go out into the new week with open hands, open hearts, and open minds. We go out with the blessing of God, Creator, Redeemer, and Sustainer. Amen.